quick introduction about me. For those that don't know me, I am Vitto. I'm a developer advocate, developer relations, developer Web3 developer advocate, however you want to call me, at Alchemy. That is a Web3 developer tooling platform. We'll talk about it in the next few minutes. I'm also a blockchain developer. For those that don't know what a blockchain developer is a Web3 full stack developer. Actually, when we were talking with Patrick a few months ago, I was like, oh my god, blockchain developer is such a good name, so we should definitely use it. So I'm actually a blockchain developer and Web3 educator. That means that I try to educate people around Web3. And today, that's what I'm going to do. What we're going to do, as I was saying, is going through super fast about what Alchemy is, how it works, why it matters, why it is used by a company like OpenSea, Adobe, and Meta, and how to use its services to build NFT galleries on the fly. Actually, how to query the blockchain. The use case here is an NFT gallery, just because it's fast to build. For those that never used Alchemy, this is a meme that our sales had made a couple of months ago. That is, developers, I wonder if Alchemy's throughput, his eye is very, very freaking high. It's actually the highest in the industry. But how does it work? What does it mean to have a high throughput for Alchemy? So let's see how the internet worked in the past, what kind of systems have been built in the past to make the internet work that way, and how Alchemy collocates in this like diagram. So if you think about it, at first we had PCs, right? We had computers, we had mainframes. And what happened is that we had to build a bunch of communication protocols. And these communication protocols were mainly made to help hardware communicate with other hardware. So we had RAM, CPUs, storage, hard disks, and we started creating this communication protocol just to communicate inside the same machine. On top of that, because it was super difficult to, to just code every time you had to do something on your computer to perform any kind of operation, then Microsoft and other operating systems were born, such as, macOS, Linux, Microsoft Windows, actually, and so on and so forth, were built on top of this hardware, on top of these code have been built to help hardware communicate, to make the user experience way faster, the developer experience way faster, more friendly. On top of that, though, because people needed to do things with this operating system, they needed to write documents, they needed to create software, they needed to browse the internet, and they didn't want to do it in a super frictionated way. Other tools have been built on top of that, on top of this operating system. So this is the third layer, and this is the application layer. Microsoft Excel, Word, Google Chrome, any kind of application. This application here is built on top of the web. So have all been built to accommodate the user experience and user actions. Then at a certain point, the cloud came, and the cloud solved a fundamental problem that was maintaining and owning your own servers. So what happened is that developers in the past had to build these like massive servers and start maintaining them. And every time they wanted to scale to multiple users, if you have 3 users, it's not a problem. If you have 1 million users, 10 million users, you probably want to scale. And to scale, they had to replicate these servers. That meant buying new machines, buying new hardware, maintaining that, installing the software, and doing all the wizardry that backend developers did back in the days. Well, that has been solved by a thing called cloud provider. So what this cloud provider like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure started doing is that they said, well, if we buy a ton of mainframes, a ton of computers, a ton of servers, then we can just provide them to the people, asking them to pay for rent, and they don't have to think about it. We think about it. We outsource all of this like overhead, and they can just build their application. And so what we invented things like AWS, right? We invented things like Google Cloud, and on top of that, we could build amazing applications like Netflix, Airbnb, Uber that were like automatically scalable and were able to serve millions of users at the same time, and the developers could just focus on developing, right? Because if you have to maintain your servers, if you have to maintain your machines, you cannot focus just on development. You have to focus on a bunch of different things. Well, now developers have also to focus on the AWS builds, but that's another story. On top of that, then, so to recap, we had the first step that was just computers and no internet, and computers were used to perform calculations or to write documents. And then people wanted to share these documents, so the internet was born. And so we started building on top of the internet. We started building websites, applications. We started building cloud providers. But that comes with a major problem. That is, all this data, I would say, is owned by these huge platforms. The value is exchanged through banks. Contracts are made thanks to lawyers, thanks to governments, thanks to accountants, right? We have this thing in Italy that is called notaio, that essentially is just a person that signs your contracts and is getting paid like tens of thousands of euros just to sign contracts. And because you need a trust organism that vouches that your contracts, that your partnerships, that your deals are regulated by these validated contracts. Well, to exchange value, though, we probably, in a globalized era, we want to move a step forward. We want to give everyone the same opportunities. We want to bring the same financial tools to everywhere in the world, just because it makes everything faster, easier, and of course, more equal for everyone. To do that, we started creating the blockchain. Now, the blockchain solved a major problem that was, how do we verify, how do we exchange value on the internet, how do we save value on the internet? Because at the moment, yes, of course, there is a bank, and the bank is actually checking that all the transactions are legit, that you can actually send those money because you own those money, and that person can actually receive those money because they are not, I don't know, they're not doing like anything bad, right? So their accounts are completely free to receive money, or they're not in Palestine, so they can receive money. But that's a problem. If you're in Palestine, for example, you cannot receive money. If you don't have PayPal, you cannot use PayPal because your state doesn't support PayPal. And so you have a lot of problems on dealing with like international businesses or receiving money from abroad. So, well, that problem has started to be solved around 2004, when someone started talking about these like crypto ledgers, the public ledgers. How can we resolve with like complex algorithm and create this sort of blockchain? And in 2007, a guy called, we don't know, created this paper that is super amazing. You surely know about it. That is the Bitcoin paper that was talking about proof of work. That was this new algorithmic proof to actually governate value exchange on this thing called the blockchain, a chain of block. So we invented HTTP, FTP, SMTP, and so on and so forth. We invented these new protocols. There are like Bitcoin, Ethereum. Ethereum is another story as well. Sorry, I just want to do a gut check on. Let me just move. Yeah, Notai is a legalized scam. What's the level here? So how comfortable are you around the terms of blockchain, how the blockchain works? I know it's an inception. I don't have a secondary monitor, but like how the blockchain works, how smart contract works, how data is saved on the blockchain. How do you feel confident? Do you feel confident? Yes or no? Should I go into it? Should I just jump and go straight into the coding because that's what we want to code? Very familiar with blockchain and Web3. This is amazing. Yep. Okay. Perfect. So I can just, okay. Let's go. Okay, so you know how it works. Perfect. So what we did is essentially it was a mess to create to host your own nodes. Let me just fast forward onto that. You had to create your own nodes, host your own nodes, and it was a complete mess because this is not scalable. Of course, it's the same problem of owning your server. Boom, we decided, you know what, we're gonna spin up a bunch of like hundreds of nodes, and you can use them. But there are other problems, right? On top of that, like if you have 10 nodes, that's not like having 10 servers. Why that? Because not all the nodes sync at the same time. So what happens is that we invented the supernode. So when you're building an application, I don't know if you ever hosted your own nodes, but if you have like 10 nodes and you start pinging one node, you get a value. That is like how many tokens says Vitto, and the node says 110. Then you ping another node in your rack and it says 115 because it's a block 1001 and the block before was 1002. So they're not synced at the same time. So what happened is that we had to build a system on top of all these nodes to make sure that the data users receive in the end is the latest available data, the most updated data possible. To do that, we created a thing that is very similar to a load balancer. So it just balance the traffic on those nodes, and at the same time it calls all nodes, make sure that the latest data available, so the node with the highest block that is not a handcode block, of course, because there is no reorg in the blockchain, is the data that will be served to the users. So if you want to understand how the supernode works more or less, there is this super cool video that Suzanne made, and essentially is this very complex architecture of different systems, mostly decentralized, that resemble like a blockchain. So it's a proper blockchain engine and does nothing else than querying the blockchain constantly, checking the latest data and serving the latest data to the users, while of course making sure that all the nodes are load balanced so they are not over pressured in any case. I just want to fast forward on that because it's already 9:17. Essentially, this is supernode, also called Vox Nodi. The name is super cool, but you can read more on the Alchemy website, and we'll see it in a few seconds. Last thing, of course, Alchemy supports a bunch of different companies: Adobe, Meta, OpenSea, Dapper, 0x, Aave, Edgenode, and so on and so forth are all using our nodes and APIs. And I want to connect here because Alchemy is not just supernode. There is another big thing that is the Alchemy is offering, and are querying APIs. Now, if you want to query the blockchain, it's not that easy. Think about asking which NFTs does this wallet have? Well, it's not that easy. All the NFTs know the wallet owning them, but the wallets do not know all the NFTs owned by them. And that's because you need to query the whole blockchain. So how would you do it ideally is you start from block 0, and you start seeing all the smart contracts that have been, all the NFTs smart contracts that have been deployed, and then you check all the minting functions, and then you check all the transactions, all the transfer functions, and after that, you do this for every single block on the blockchain, and you save all this data, and after that, that is around 1,000,000,7,015,000. Like, it's an enormous amount of operations to do that. At that point, you'll know which NFTs are owned by a wallet. Now, luckily, you don't have to perform that many operations because you can just use Alchemy. I mean, Alchemy already has the nodes, so we were like, okay, let's index them. It doesn't make sense to leave that data there. Let's index them and just serve the data that people need. So we created a thing that are called enhanced APIs. Let me go on the fly. This is actually the website that we're going to build. But let me go on the fly on alchemy.com to show you what I'm talking about. So if you go here, alchemy.com, and you go under products, you can see the supernode. And if you want to learn more about how the supernode technology works, this is super cool. And then we created these two things, enhanced APIs and an NFT API. Enhanced API, just to fast forward on top of that, allow you to fetch different kind of data from the blockchain. Can you still see my screen? I'm always concerned. Yes, let's go. Allow you to perform different kind of data querying on the blockchain, such as getting all the transfers from and to an account or wallet, essential token identifiers, so it gets all the token metadata about any token. So you just pass the smart contract address, account balances for each token. So let's say you give me your address, and I want to know all the tokens that are in your address and how much of every token you have. You can just use this API, and it will tell you amount of tokens, full transactions received. So you can essentially query everything you need on the blockchain. But what I want to show you today is the NFT API. So as I was saying, NFTs know who owns them, but will let them know which NFTs they're owning, because there's nowhere to save it on blockchain, right? There's no like a smart wallet smart contract that saves all the tokens that you have. So you need to query the whole blockchain, and that's exactly what the NFT API does. So what we're gonna build today in the next 25 minutes, so I will have to fast type everything, is NFT gallery. So we're gonna pass an address. We're gonna connect with an address. Let me show you here. We're going to connect with an address using Rainbow Kit. That also today is super down. So the problem is probably they have an issue with their RPC provider that is not Alchemy. And so it's giving me an error, but it shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, I created the demo before, so I'm sure that at least you can see the final outcome, but it should work. I'm pretty sure it should work. And what we're going to do, super ugly, we're going to build an NFT gallery like this one. So these are the NFTs I'm owning with this address. And we can see like the description, we can see the name, we can see the image, we can see way more information actually, and we'll see how in a few seconds. So connecting with Rainbow Kit, NFT gallery with all the NFTs we have on Ethereum. It could actually work on Polygon. It's not set up for Polygon at the moment. The NFT API, by the way, I think it works. I don't think, I'm sure that it works with Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Ethereum. And we're releasing Solana support soon. This is alpha. Anyway, let's start doing it. Now, I have a secret to do this in 25 minutes. As I was telling you in the last few months, I think with Albert, I don't know if you know that guy in tech, we had to spin up an an incredible amount of decentralized application for a bunch of demos and to test some of our APIs. So we were like, okay, maybe setting up and installing the dependencies every single time is not the best use of our time. So we created this thing that is going to be released next week. And just fast forward the boilerplates creation process. This thing is called Create Web3 App. So you can essentially run in your terminal npx. Let me know, can you see my terminal? Is it too small? Okay, I'm making it a little bit bigger. Amazing. Now let me stay on this page so I can also see. If you have questions, stop me. If something is not clear, stop me as well. So we created this package that is called Create Web3 App that, you guessed that, is very similar to Create React App. And essentially that does nothing else than setting up your boilerplates, installing custom components that you can decide, and creating smart contracts. So essentially does everything. It's super cool. Let me walk you through this super fast. So you run npx create web3 app. You can try it on your laptop while we're going through it. It will ask you, oops, let me go back a second. I'm already in an application. So npx create web3 app. It will ask you to insert a name for your application. I already have a MyDApp in this folder, so I will rename it to MyDApp number 1. And then it will ask you, what kind of application do you want to build? So let's say we want to build a custom application. So EVM, of course, is Ethereum, Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism. Solana is Solana. Custom application is whatever you want. So let's go create a custom application. We want to create it on Ethereum in this case. Do we want to use the testnet? Yes. What kind of components do you want to install? So here is asking me, what custom component do I want to download? We are creating different components for multiple use cases. At the moment, we have only around like 6 components because we're working on that, but there is enough for today. So if you click on the NFT section, what I want to do is import an NFT gallery, and why not, the NFT details pop up. That is very ugly, by the way, because I didn't finish styling it. So bear with me. Once we have selected our NFT gallery and NFT details pop-up, let's exit the component selection. And here it will ask us if we want to install a blockchain development environment. We won't install a blockchain development environment in this case, just because it would take so long to install all the dependencies. But bear in mind that you can install Hardhat or Foundry using this package. I'm going to press no. And then it's going to ask me to insert an Alchemy API key. Yeah, Foundry is super cool. Foundry is super, super good. I think now they're creating an integration with Liter, that is a smart contract auditing software / plugin that is very, very good. Here it's asking me for an Alchemy API key. So let's create an Alchemy API key. If you're not already registered on the website, you can go here, click on sign up. I will just sign in with Google. I'm going to use this email here. And once you have signed up, let me delete one application because I'm on the free tier. So you can create up to 5 applications, and it will tell you what is going on here. So let me delete this one. Alrighty, so once you open the Alchemy dashboard, how many of you are already using Alchemy? So I know how in depth should I go. Are you already using Alchemy? If you're not using Alchemy, yes. Not yet. Okay. Okay, so let me go through super quick on how Alchemy works. Alchemy, as I was telling you, there is this node provider part. So node provider, it means giving you a URL, RPC URL, to connect to the blockchain at the end of the day. So once you create your account here, you'll be able to see this dashboard, and these are my already created applications. And down here, you can see information about your application, like median response. So how long your requests to Ethereum nodes or any kind of node you're using are taking. How many requests did you send in the last 24 hours? The throughput limited, because if you're on free tier, of course, there is like a throughput limit that is very, very high. And is that high that I discovered that one of an application that we use every day was using the free tier on Alchemy, and it was like mind-blowing, because it was like, how is that possible that they're scaling to thousands of users, and they actually are able to scale to thousands of users without spending a single cent to maintain their infrastructure, and invalid requests is how many invalid requests you got in the last 24 hours. We can actually go much more in depth. So if you click here, let's create a new app, and we're going to call it Crypto Zombies Official. Yeah, I'm not writing a description, is completely optional, and I'm going to select the chain. As you can see here, there is Upstart, Optimism, Arbitrum, Solana, Polygon. We're going to build our application on Ethereum and select mainnet, create app. Once we have created the app, we can click on create Crypto Zombies Officials, and you can see there is mainnet here. Now, if you want to get our API key, we can just click on View Key, click on Copy here, and these will be our API key for the Alchemy nodes. These ones and this one, this is for WebSockets. We have another API that is called Notify that allows you to use WebSockets to ping messages, to send notification when an event on the blockchain happens. The HTTP version is just the full version, automatically built on Create Web3 dApp. So I'm going to select the API key, and I'm going to start my API key here. Going to press insert. As you can see, this is the debug mode. That's why you're seeing these things. But anyway, what Create Web3 dApp is doing is cloning a repo, is deleting the templates files because it's cloning the repo with everything, and then it's deleting everything that you don't need. Of course, cleaning up here, then it will generate the package.json with all the dependencies, install all the dependencies, making sure that all the dependencies are updated. And once it has finished, it will give us a quick start. So the quick start, of course, is create a new free account on Alchemy. If we haven't already, visit the documentation, is almost ready. It should be published on Monday, so bear with me. But anyway, you don't really need to use Create Web3 dApp to create an NFT gallery, of course. It's just to speed up the process, and you'll soon understand why. Now, once you have understood the documentation, we can just cd into our application and start developing. So this application has been called MyDApp1, I would say. Yeah. So cd MyDApp1, and now we can just code from here. Alrighty. Yes, I trust the author. It's me. Here we go. So what's going on here? As you can see, there is a lot going on. First of all, Create Web3 dApp made sure, oops, this is an extra thing for the debug, made sure to install all the dependencies that we need. So what kind of dependencies did it install? It installed the Alchemy SDK, and the Alchemy SDK is nothing more than a wrapper around our APIs and ethers.js. So what allows you to do is to call smart contract, interact with smart contract, and do whatever you do usually with ether.js. Plus, as all the querying functionalities, such as getting NFTs or getting transactions or token policies from the Alchemy APIs. On top of that, he installed Rainbow Kit. If you don't know Rainbow Kit, they are amazing. Rainbow Kit is a wallet SDK that allows you to quickly set up a wallet connect on your decentralized applications. And it's super customizable. You can change what kind of chains, what kind of wallets it supports. You can pretty much do everything. It's my to-go choice when I have to create like demo and decentralized application. Otherwise, of course, custom. Yes, it's very fast, Carmelo. It's very, very fast. Custom when I want to create something a little bit more complex, but in this case, it's way more than enough. Anyway, let me go back to Visual Code. And once it has installed all the dependencies, it also made sure that the .env file has been set up. So the Alchemy API key is already here. You can use it for the next 20 minutes, then I will delete the application. And then inside Pages, it downloaded a bunch of other files, such as the API. So in the API folder, as you can see, it already has a bunch of APIs, and these are determined by the components that we installed. So we have the get contract API, get contract metadata, get NFTs for owner, and get snapshot. In this case, we're going to look at the get NFTs for owner, and I'm going to explain the code here in a few seconds. But on top of that, it also installed a bunch of components. So we have an NFT card here, NFT details pop up. Do you remember? We actually installed them during our selection. NFT details pop up, and the gallery, it was somewhere here. It was deleted. NFT gallery. So the one that will help us creating this NFTs display where we can show all the NFTs owned by an address, and then these panels that we'll see super soon what they're about, and a primary button that we'll use throughout our application. In the index, there is some template code that I'm going to show you in a second. Let me delete these things because you can actually delete this template code. And let me start the application right away. So we didn't change any code at this point. So let me run npm run dev. It will start our React Next application. I can click on localhost 3000 and boom, I forgot to delete one thing. Here we go. And boom, we have our application ready. So Rainbow Kit is already installed. This is the panel with a quick start guide, learn Web3 with Alchemy University. If you don't know Alchemy University, no, huge fail. I need to change this link, but this link should actually bring you here. The Alchemy University is Web3 university where you can take courses on Web3 completely for free. Big plug here. We're releasing the early access NFTs in this day. You can simply apply by clicking on this button, and it will give you access to these 2 courses. One is a 7 weeks course, the other is a 3 weeks course. And we also have the Discord community where you can participate. Anyway, here you can become a contributor, so you can help create Web3 dApp and expanding with new components and new things that you don't like, and we can change it. It's completely open source. Here you have the docs, and here you can create a new Alchemy account. But to this point, we already have Rainbow Kit set up. So how does it work? Essentially what it did, it just went here under your app, under utils, we also have another 2 files. These 2 files are the wallet setup file. So Rainbow Kit is already set up in Create Web3 dApp, and Alchemy.js, that is the setup required by the Alchemy SDK. Both of them are exported, and so we're using them in our application. Is it all clear? Do we have questions until now? Because I feel like it's a lot. Yeah, the early access NFTs will come in the following days. I got you. Is everything clear until now? How Create Web3 dApp works, the things that he created. Are you familiar with NextJS? Do I need to go more in depth about that? Yes, very clear. Love it. Yep, amazing. So as I was saying here, you have the Alchemy SDK. Make sure this one is the chain that we're working on. In this case, ETH mainnet. You can actually write it this way. So dot, and I want to stay on ETH mainnet. This is our API key that has been saved in .env file. We're creating a new Alchemy object and exporting Alchemy. Now, what we want to do is actually implement the NFTs gallery, right? How do we implement the NFTs gallery? We've seen before that we already have some code here. So let's see what this code does. The code essentially just import some styles. So if you're familiar, styles are, Create Web3 dApp also make sure that the styles are imported. So if you're familiar with Next.js, you can see here you have your styles. It's nothing more than like a class, a CSS class. We're planning to support Tailwind and Chakra UI in the following months. Going back to NFT gallery and accept one prop that is NFTs data. NFTs data is the kind of data that is returned by the Alchemy NFTs API. Once you provide the NFTs data, this will go on and it will map through all the NFTs data. The map function is nothing more than a for each function. So for each NFT contained in the NFTs data array, it will create an NFT card, passing the NFT property. So let's see how the NFT card works. So if you can see here, what we're doing here is very similar. We're importing a custom hook. What is that? Well, when we imported the details pop-up, we also imported the thing that is called hooks. So if I move up here and I go under hooks, you can see we have a custom hook here that is nothing more than like a click outside of the box and open and close a window. It's just a hook to open and close windows that we created because there was no hook like that in React. That is weird because it's actually very similar to how most of the React hooks work. But anyway, we had to create these, and essentially when you open a thing, it creates the pop-up, you click outside of the pop-up, it closes the pop-up. Super simple, nothing more than that. So we're importing that. we're importing our styles, we're importing our primary button, it's nothing more than a button, and we're importing our NFT details pop-up. Now, I won't go too in-depth on how the NFT details pop-up works. Everything is written in the documentation, so whatever you need to know is written there, and I will link everything in the, I think, Andre, we can link the documentation in the YouTube video of the recording. I can also send the link in the chat here. Or if you go on docs.alchemy.com, there is a section about create Web3 app and all the components list there. Anyway, the NFT card is a little bit more complex just because there is more code, but it's very, very simple, straightforward. What we're doing here is we're using the use component visible hook. We are creating a new div where we're inserting the image. Let me put this near the other one that we created before. It should be here. So, yep, there we go. So let me put this on the right and let me put this on the left. Here we go. So what we have here is a image. Is this image here? Sorry, it's not responsive. My bad. I will work on that. An NFT image. Sorry, in the image here, that is this image here. We have a title of the NFT. That is this thing here. We have an ID. That is this one here. We have a description. That is this thing here. We have a primary button. That is here. And we have the NFT details pop-up that when we click the primary button, not in this demo application, when we click the primary button, we'll open the pop-up. We'll see how it works in a few seconds. Now, how do we implement these into our index page, into our application, right? That's what we want to do. So let me close the NFT card, use component visible, NFT gallery. We don't need these things now. We can go back to our index.jsx. So to import a new component into our index.jsx, I'm going to use a utility component that is called section. That is nothing more than a flex box that makes sure that there is padding all around and makes everything looks a little bit better. You can fully customize everything you want. And here I'm going to write NFT gallery and then close it. If you want to be more precise, we can just write this thing. Of course, now it will complain because it's like, well, what is the NFT gallery? So let's import a bunch of things. I'm going up here, and first of all, what I will need for sure is use state and use effect from React. I know that we're running late from React, of course. And then what I want to import is absolutely our NFT gallery that is coming from components and NFT gallery. And then I definitely want to import use account from the WAGMI library. Now, what does it mean? This is a little technicality, I would say, but the thing is that Rainbow Kit, this library here that I'm using here to connect our wallet, is built on top of WAGMI. That is an open source library that you can find online. WAGMI library, and essentially make sure take care of Windows.ethereum and make sure that there are a bunch of hooks connected to window.ethereum and window.ethereum provider properties that MetaMask and other wallet inject into your browser. So essentially, RainbowKit is just wrapping them to make sure that their application works. So we can switch, disconnect, copy the address, change the chain, and all these things are done through the WAGMI library. And the WAGMI library also exposes a number of hooks, like the use account hook. So what happens if I go WAGMI use account, and there is their documentation, wagmi.sh. And as you can see here, usage is import use account from WAGMI const, very similar to a hook. The difference is that an object and an array, and it has address is connecting, is disconnected. The only thing we will need is the address, because that's the address we want to pass into our NFT gallery. Of course, you can pass any kind of address. That's what we're doing in this case, because we want to see the NFTs of the wallet connected through RainbowKit. So we need use account. Now that we have our hooks imported, the NFT gallery and use account imported, let's go back to our application, make sure that is the right application, 3000, amazing. And here we have no NFTs to show because we're not passing any kind of data yet. Here, what I'm going to do is write const, open the graph, address equal use account. Again, I don't have a secondary monitor, so I'm doing all of this by memory. There might be some typos On top of that, what we need is const is loading, and you understand why in a second, and set is loading. In this case, we're going to use a use state with false. Also, we'll need the NFTs. NFTs, set NFTs equal use state, and it's going to be null, even if it's going to complain. And last but not least is loading NFTs. Now, that should be it. Amazing. Now that we have this thing, what we need to do is to tell our application to fetch these NFTs, right? To fetch our NFTs, we can use the get NFTs owner API that comes shipped with Create Web3 app, or you can build your own, of course. It's nothing more than a wrapper for the Alchemy SDK get NFTs for owner endpoint. So what we're doing here is we're importing Alchemy from the utils that we've seen before, where we set up a new Alchemy object. Again, everything is in the docs. So if I go under the docs of Alchemy and I write Alchemy SDK, maybe SDK, is it here? So road to Web3, beginner friendly, DeFi, transaction, app development, code snippets. I'm a little confused at the moment. Anyway, it's here. I'll send you the link. Probably we're updating the pages. Anyway, to create a new Alchemy object, you just go here and you create it as we've seen before, passing these settings. Once we have imported Alchemy, we create our standard API function with request and response method. Super important is post in this case because we want to post some data, we want to send a payload. We get the address, so we'll need to send an address to our API, and if the address is present, then our alchemy.nft, alchemy object.nft for NFT API, get NFTs for owner passing the address. I know I'm using a wait and then here together. Don't hate me, I need it because NextJS sometimes has weird behaviors on asynchronous things, especially in the APIs. So for the sake of hosting everything in local and the thing that Rainbow Kit is messed up today, I want to make sure that the data is definitely there when it gets returned. So I'm using both together, not best practice. Usually what you would do is or you use await or you use then and async. Once the NFTs has been fetched, we just send a 200 with the JSON version of our NFTs data. If the contract address is been missing or the address is been missing, then we're sending a 500. If there is no post, but it's like a GET request, we are issuing a 400 and sending the request is not supported message. All clear until now? Yeah, I think so. I hope. Also, I cannot see my screen anymore on the application, but I hope that you can. Amazing, amazing. Everything is clear. So going back here, we were in our index application. What we need to do is we need to fetch that data. How do we do that? Now, there are a lot of ways to handle a sync request in an XJS component. I'm going to use the following that I think is the cleanest one. But if you Google it, there are different ways. I think there is another one that is a little bit more clever, but doesn't make the code super readable. But use effect, what it does essentially is a hook that fires every time this value after the comma changes. So every time the address value changes, this use effect hook will fire. If you don't put anything, for example, it will fire every second. If you put empty array, it will fire every time you refresh the page. Anyway, we need it with the address, and inside of here, we need to pass our callback function. So I'm using lambda functions or arrow functions. This is the same way of writing function, blah, blah, blah. But if you're familiar with Web3, I'm pretty sure you're also familiar with lambda functions. So for a lambda function, I think it's very boomer, honestly. I think everyone now calls them arrow functions, but lambda function is way more funny. It comes from Java, I think. Anyway, here, what we're going to do is set loading. So why that? Because we want our application to render nothing when we're loading. So how do we do that? We go here, sorry, our NFT gallery to not render when we're loading. So what we do here is we open the graphs and then write is loading. If it's loading, then probably we want just to return a paragraph that says loading. If it's not loading, then we can return our NFT gallery. Amazing. Now, what we want to do then is, as you can see here, no NFT is showing, but if we refresh the application for a second, it should show. No, it's too fast because there is nothing to fetch. So it's not performing any operation. It's too fast to render. Anyway, here now we can finally fetch our NFTs, but we cannot put a sink here. I mean, we can put a sink here, but it's very bad because it creates problems with rendering. So what we're going to do is use .then. So I'm writing fetch. Then we'll need our API. Then we'll need our endpoint. Then in this case is NFTs for owner. And then we need options because we want to make sure that the method is a post and that the body is there. So I'm writing JSON.stringify and then object address. And that's super good. We're fetching our API. What we need to do is to get the data. So data, or we call, yeah, let's just call it data. And then it's going to become data.json because we need to convert it. And once it has been converted, we can write NFTs. And here, open the graph. And for the sake of the tutorial, we'll log the NFTs. Now, I'm really hoping that this will work because I'm having problems with the fact that Rainbow Kit is going down. But yes, boom, baby, this worked. So what happened here, sorry, but I spent the last hour like fighting against Rainbow Kit because it wasn't working, because it wasn't unable to fetch my address. But now that it's working, like the first 10 attempt, I'm super happy because usually during lives, it just massacre. Instead, it's working amazing. So let's take a look at what this is fetching. So here, as you can see, we are getting data about the NFTs that my address wallet is owning. And what kind of data do we get? First of all, we're getting balanced data. Balanced data is one. What does it mean? You'll be like, oh, wow, yeah, NFTs are non-fungible tokens. So you only can have one for each. Well, that's not true because 1155 are considered NFTs, but can have multiple instances of the same NFT with the same ID. So we put that because we never know if it's an ERC 7021 or an 1155. So in case of ERC 7021, you just get a balance one. In case of ERC 1155, like gold in a game, you will get 1,500 and so on and so forth. Then we have a contract object here. And the contract object has address, name, symbol, token, type, and total supply. The address is a smart contract address. So if I go here, for example, and I want to go on Etherscan, I can check the smart contract address and see what is going on. The name of the smart contract address, this is Chips. Please, these are random NFTs. Don't buy any of these NFTs. It's just definitely not financial advice. I just need them to showcase the application. And total supply of the NFTs. Then we have a description. So what is the NFT collection about? Then we have the media. Inside the media, we have this array. And at the first element of the array, we have a gateway-ted link from IPFS. So let me click this link. That brings us to the image. Remove the commas. And as you can see now, it should load the image if IPFS works and doesn't aid us too much. On top of that, while this is loading, that is very, very, very slow. And it's because a public got away, so it's not a closed got away. So this is very slow. Raw is the raw version of the IPFS image. Then you have raw metadata, that is the same stuff. And sorry, then you have raw metadata that is the same stuff plus other things, such as the attributes. So inside the attributes, we have the attributes that we used to see on OpenSea. So like, what is the background? What is the face? What are the eyes? What is the hairstyle? And so on and so forth. So you can look through these and display them. Then you have a title of the NFT, the ID of the token, and the standard of the token. Again, if you want to know more on the data that you'll get out of the NFT API, you can go under docsalchemy.com, and hopefully this time I will find it. So if I go under API references, no, my gut says NFT API here. Quick start. And in the NFT API, you can find all the things that you need to know about the NFT API. If you go under tutorials, I'm pretty sure that you can also find, other tutorials about the NFT API. Plus, we have code snippets under the receipts section where you can just copy and paste there. But anyway, let me go back. This is the kind of data that we need to display our NFTs. That is also actually the data that our NFT gallery need. So NFTs data, when we talk about NFTs data, this is exactly what it needs. So what we need to do is just pass this data into our NFT gallery. Let's do it. So let me go back to our application. Let me go here. And in our NFT gallery, I can just write NFT data. And what it wants is NFTs. Now I will get an error. Oh, no, I'm not getting an error because I implemented type checks. Wow, it worked actually. Anyway, once we have converted our data into JSON and consoled it, we can just write stat NFTs. And the stat NFTs will be plugged with NFTs. And once this has been done, we can just set its loading to false. Right, this didn't make any sense. Now, what is the problem, my friend? Oh, because we're probably passing the wrong thing. NFTs. Let's go again. Can read property reading map. Here we go again. This is one of the problems because today the chains are a little funky. So let me see if the attributes are actually there. Otherwise, we'll just comment it out for a second. Let me refresh. Yes, no. Okay. Let me just go under the NFT card for a second and see if the problem is really that thing or is more. Where are the attributes? My bad. Okay, let me just comment this thing because the error is actually coming from the NFTs details pop-up, and we don't really need it to see it in function. I will show you later how that works. At least we have our NFT gallery ready. Here we go. So as you can see here, what we did is we implemented our, let me make it bigger, can I? Yeah. We implemented our API call, getting the get NFTs for owner, taking the address from the wallet. So this is the address we are using. If I disconnect from here, of course, it's giving me an error. So we would need to implement a type check here. But oops, I need to connect again. Very bad example. Let me comment a second. Let's do this thing now. Let's implement the type check a second because otherwise it will never work. So here, what we need to do is if address is there, well, probably want to fetch, otherwise probably not, because otherwise, of course, we got an error. It's trying to fetch without an address. So no, if I disconnect, I shouldn't get any error. And what we're getting here is nothing. As soon as we will connect using MetaMask, and I uncomment this section maybe because of course we won't see anything. So again, let me do this again. If I disconnect from here, you see there is loading, and then probably you think there is nothing here. If I connect my wallet, MetaMask, it will fetch all the NFTs. So the address is coming from the wallet. Then we're using the address to fetch our NFTs using the API that we've seen before. Actually, the API is nothing more, again, than the Alchemy SDK. So you can use it without the API itself. This is just a custom one because I didn't want to show my API key on the front end. So I'm fetching the data on the back end. It's using alchemy.nft, get NFTs for owner, passing the address. We get all the NFTs for the owner that it looks. This is the error that is coming from Rainbow Kit at the moment. So I can't really do anything about that, but I'm planning to solve it today, or I'm working with the Rainbow Kit team to solve it. So we're getting this kind of data. We return the data in our 200 and index. We set the data in our use state hook. And once the data is there, we just display it in our NFT gallery. The NFT gallery, again, super simple, is mapping through our NFT data using NFTs data.map. That again is like a for each loop. And for every NFT, we create an NFT card. We pass the NFT object into that. So to be more precise, looking at the JSON data, we pass every and each of these objects into it. And once we go into this, what we'll do is we'll fetch the image, and the image is inside NFT. So open NFT, media, so open media, 0, so open 0, gateway. This is the URL of the NFT image. Then there is NFT.title. So NFT.title, NFT.description, where is the description? Sorry, raw metadata description. And you should have a description. Am I completely blind? Yes, I'm completely blind. Description. And that's pretty much it. Questions? If we have, no, we don't have any extra minutes probably, but there's also this NFT details pop-up that is also pretty cool to show off. So maybe if we have another 5 seconds, you are getting images directly from the IPFS. Got it. Not really. So what we're doing is you can get images directly from IPFS:// so not HTTPS, but there is a gateway. So there are different gateways like http://ipfs.io// the IPFS URL, or there is, I think, ipfs.filebase.com// and these ones are like private gateway that you can use to change, I would say, the communication protocol used to visualize those images. So as you can see here, to your point, this is a very good question actually. To your point, we have 2 versions of the NFTs, right? So we have, sorry, this one. We have 2 versions of the NFTs metadata. We have in the media, if you look, we have the gatewayed version and the IPFS version. What is contained inside of here is the IPFS version. So if I open this URL, you can see I'm going, I don't know why I cannot open it with my browser, but I can fetch it today. Anyway, potentially, and also Chrome is telling you that this is true. If you look at the image contained in this NFT card, it comes from the gateway. Right, I want to interrupt this screen sharing a second. All righty. All right, if there are no questions at all, what I want to do is send me your address in the chat now. Then I'm going to send you a special NFT for today's session and maybe the early accesses. How many people do we want the early access NFT for Alchemy University? Look at you. Okay, let me do this thing. If we can be ordered. So I'm going to send you how many people there are here. 15 URLs for Alchemy University right now. Please use only one. If you use 2, it means someone else won't be able to get it. Okay? And I will generate them right now. And am I able to do it? You received one, Andrea? Oh, amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna generate 14. How was the session, by the way? Did like made sense? Was it useful? Did you learn something? Is there anything that wasn't clear? This is the first time. Yeah, that's how like the NFT API works in that with that. Amazing. Okay, super happy to hear that. I don't know why. I let me see. Can I paste text images? Hello. Ah, okay. So I couldn't copy paste here, but now I'm able to. Perfect. So these are 15 links for Alchemy University, and boom. No, boom, nothing. Boom. Get your Alchemy University NFT. Woo! Super happy, and thank you so much for joining, folks, for giving me your time today and listening. Super appreciate it. If you have any question, for sure, feel free to reach me out or reach out to the Crypto Zombie guys. Andre, they're doing an amazing job supporting the community and teaching everyone. So definitely send them your question or send me your questions, and we'll make sure to answer them. Thank you so much. If you have any kind of feedback or again questions about the NFT API, let me know. university.alchemy.com. We're starting super soon. The Discord server is very, very lively. I really suggest you to take a look into it because it's a lot of fun. And the people in there are amazing. There is Albert, there is Aaron, and so on and so forth. And yeah, drop me a message, say hi, and looking forward to talking with you. Amazing. Thank you.